So if you're like me, you probably use social media. In fact, even if you're not like me, you probably still use social media. I can't really remember a time in my life where it wasn't relevant. Maybe in the early 2000s when I was a young lad, I lived blissfully without it. But for the most part, my teenage years onward, social media was relevant. Quick side story, I remember being in elementary school sitting on the swing set next to my friend, and he told me about this thing called YouTube. He said I would probably really like it, and he was right. So comment down below how you guys first discovered YouTube, if you remember how that happened at all, because now I'm curious. But anyway, in today's video, I want to talk about how to navigate social media without destroying your mental health, because I think social media is an important tool for content creators and for most people who are trying to grow any kind of a business. So first, let's talk about some stats, just in case you're not swayed by social media. So you should know that 4.48 billion people use it worldwide. That comes out to be about 56.8% of the world's population. 84% of those aged 18 to 29 are using it, 81% of those aged 30 to 49, as well as 73% of 50 to 64, and 45% of ages 65 and up. Basically, 4 out of every 5 young people in these age groups here are using social media. So I think it's a pretty important tool for us to capitalize on and help grow our businesses with. Also, shout out to age groups 50 and up. You guys are still important as well. I'm just trying to make a point here. So for some people, social media is just something they use for fun. They follow interesting people, they follow people that make them laugh, or they just post about whatever things are happening to them on a daily basis. For a lot of other people, like myself and probably a lot of you guys watching, social media is a business tool. I actually prefer a more strategic approach to social media. That's mostly because I'm not naturally one of those people that posts a lot on there and thinks to do that all the time. I usually forget to post, and when I do, it's something business related or promoting a YouTube video or a Twitch stream or something like that. And also right off the bat, I wanted to throw this in here that some people do create alt accounts for that more fun side of social media. So I know a lot of creators that have a business social, like a Twitter, a business Twitter, and then they'll have like a shit posting Twitter where they just post whatever they want. They don't have to care about it as much. So they keep the business one professional, and then they have their alt account that's for fun and for everything else. So if that's something that is relevant to you and something you never thought about doing but you'd like to do, go for it. I think it's a great idea. But getting into like the main portion of this video, I want to talk about Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. These are some socials that I think are relevant to people. These are also some socials that I think maybe get people riled up from time to time. Okay, so first let's talk about Twitter and talk about one of my favorite features that Twitter has on it. That would be the mute feature. So if you're unfamiliar with this feature, you know, you can follow people on Twitter to get access to their content, see their posts and everything. There's also a secondary thing you can do then, which is muting them. So you're still following them, but then you've had them muted. What this means is you're not going to see their content pop up on your timeline, but you're still following them. You can go directly to their Twitter and check out their posts if that's something you're interested in, but otherwise they'll have no idea that you're not seeing their posts because they can't see who has them muted. Muting is a wonderful feature to help keep your timeline clean and keep negativity off of it while still not creating any negative tensions or feelings with other people on Twitter. Because if you unfollow somebody, I know it's a bit crazy, but there's some situations where they may notice that you did that, and then they'll figure out that it was you who unfollowed and maybe have some ill will or negative feelings towards you. I know that sounds absolutely ridiculous, but just to circumnavigate that small 0.1% chance of that happening, you can just mute people and keep your timeline clean and keep them happy. They'll never know. Like I said here, muting does not mean that you dislike or you hate somebody. It's your timeline and you have a right to keep it how you want it. If there's stuff on there that you don't want to see, negative stuff, stuff that gets people riled up, it's perfectly well within your right to mute somebody. It does not mean that you don't like them or anything like that. It's just about keeping your timeline a place that you want to be on, because if you find yourself getting on Twitter, checking your timeline and being unhappy, you've completely missed the point of Twitter or social media. It's not a place where you should go to get angry or upset. You'd also be surprised too how many people are repeat offenders of things that you dislike or don't really want to see on a day-to-day basis. It's typical, I think, with people who continuously post about hating the same thing over and over. You'll find that if somebody is prone to sharing their negative feelings about something, they're prone to keep doing it. And so simply muting a few people may completely clear up your timeline and make it a better place that you actually want to be on. So please don't be afraid to mute people on Twitter. It's the perfect way to keep keep yourself sane. Similarly, on Facebook, there is the unfollow feature. So as you know, on Facebook, you can friend people. There is an unfollow feature, which means that you remain friends, but you don't see the content that they post on your timeline. To go see that content, you'd have to go directly to their Facebook profile and check it out yourself. Otherwise, you're not going to see it. Again, perfect way to keep your Facebook timeline clean, keep it a place you want to be at. So if you don't want to see Uncle Jimmy's ramblings about UFOs, but you also don't want to unfriend Uncle Jimmy because then he'll tell Aunt Susan about it and there will be a big stink in the family, unfollowing people on Facebook is the best thing to do. Makes everybody happy. All right, and now YouTube. So YouTube isn't inherently like a bad place to be. I think a lot of people are generally happy on YouTube. I have run into situations where my homepage has ridiculous videos pop up on it, and I do want to mention that if you go to YouTube and you see a video on your homepage that you really just don't want to see, or you don't want to see any videos from that creator, you can click on a little thing right next to the video and actually say don't recommend this content or don't recommend this YouTuber. I think for the most part your YouTube homepage is a place that has a bunch of things you do want to see, but on the off chance there's something you don't like, you can do that and get that off your homepage. Also with YouTube, the comments, this is the main part. You can remove a comment if it's something you just don't want to see. That will, however, let the person who commented know that it's not there anymore. They can go back to the video and they'll see that their comment got removed. This may invite more heckling, more trolling, whatever. So YouTube created this feature called hide all comments from user. What this does is it allows them to comment. They'll see their comment on the video, but you will never see that person's comment on that video or any of your videos ever again. This is just like the mute feature and just like the unfollow feature on Facebook. This means that that person can happily post whatever they want on the video, but you or anyone else that comments or looks at the video won't see it. So it keeps them happy. They think they're getting through to you and you will never see it ever again. It's a perfect win-win. So that's what I love about all three of these platforms, is that they have a feature that allows you to still connect with people, but keep all parties happy. So if you don't want to see something on Twitter, Facebook, or YouTube, you can not see it, but also not let the person on the other end know that you're not seeing it. It's simply the best way to navigate these social medias, and you should be taking advantage of these features if you're not already. I can't tell you how much happier you're going to be when you start muting, unfollowing, or hiding comments of people that are repeat offenders and repeatedly negatively affect your mental health. So let's talk specifics on methods that I like to use on social media, starting with one of my favorite sayings, one of my favorite expressions, and that is, I don't have a horse in this race. So this is a big one for me that I often can daily use on social media and get myself out of sticky situations. So in case you're a little confused on what this means, I have an example for you. So a game dev of a game that you don't even play decides to add microtransactions, and this makes you want to jump in the comment section and give your opinion. Now you may read this and think to yourself, that is so silly, I would never do that. But really ask yourself, how many times have you ever jumped in on a post that wasn't even relevant to you, but you felt the need to share your opinion, and then what ended up happening was that somebody replied to your opinion with their opinion, and their opinion was different and directly counters your opinion, and then the race is on, the horses are off. A lot of times you're going to be able to look at a post and say, do I have a horse in this race? Does this really affect me? Is this something I need to get in on? A lot of times you're going to see that it's actually not something you need to get in on. Therefore you won't post your comment, and therefore you won't have a bunch of trolls or weird people replying to you. Therefore you're going to be a lot happier because you don't have to deal with all that negativity that's going to come with that. You know, will my input here help anything or change anything? I hate to break it to you, but most of the time on social media, you're not going to sway somebody's opinion on anything. I don't know what it is about it. Communicating through text online is a horrible way to try and do anything, and it's just not worth your time because you're probably just not going to change anyone's mind, and there's just no reason to spend so much energy in trying to do so. That's just not the place, not the time or place. A lot of the times we stress about things that we don't have any control over. So this is actually kind of why I made today's video at all, is I had a situation like this pop up just today, the day I'm making this video. So here's an example of a lot of the times we stress about things we have no control over. So you see something on social media that doesn't involve you, but it stresses you out, like two friends fighting. This is literally what happened today, and I spent, unfortunately, probably 30 or 45 minutes reading comments, like checking posts, watching footage of things, and just like trying to figure out why this total train wreck of a like drama situation happened at all. And it was just a big thing. It didn't personally involve me whatsoever, so I didn't have a horse in that race. And it also was something that I was stressing out about that I had simply no control over. I kind of, after spending that ridiculous amount of time analyzing the situation, I kind of came to the conclusion conclusion that it was a simple misunderstanding that got way too out of hand, and then both parties ended up getting really negative about it publicly. There was a time where I was like, you know what, I can jump in here and maybe help diffuse the situation, but in the end, I just came to the conclusion that, you know what, this just doesn't affect me. I don't have a horse in this race, and I simply have no control over this because I'm not going to change anyone's mind about this. There's nothing I can say that's going to help. And so I saved myself a lot of heartache and a lot of hassle by just muting, muting a couple people, and I will never have this problem again with those people. And it's just that simple. It's nothing anyone should feel bad about. It's nothing I need to care about. The situation is handled, and that is that. So I do want to talk about this specific situation where you just cannot resist. You've gone over these things, you've asked yourself, do I have a horse in this race? You've asked yourself, is this something I have any control over, or will my input help or change anything? If all of these safeguards have failed and you have to get in there, private messaging somebody is typically better than calling somebody out if you really feel the need to intervene, but also just dropping it may be best. So if you can't drop it, if you cannot get over this and you have to intervene, much like today's situation, when I was at the point where I thought to myself, I have to get in this because I think I can help. When I was at that point, I started to private message one of the parties because I was going to get in there, not publicly, as a friend, and try and help the situation because I felt that there was something I could offer. And a few sentences in, I was just like, dude, I'm not going to change this guy's mind. It's not going to happen. This has nothing to do with me. You see how these keep becoming reoccurring things that you have to go back to on Twitter? Well, there's a reason for that. It's because this happens a lot on Twitter. A lot of the times we're stressing over things that we don't need to be stressing about. So I ended up deleting the message and just calling it, muting it, calling it at that, leaving it alone. You need to know that your time and energy has value and that you don't owe anyone anything. You should never feel selfish about not jumping in, even when it's two friends on social media that are arguing. You are not expected to intervene. You don't owe anyone anything, especially when it comes to petty squabbles on the internet. You can use that time and energy to much better things. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that I have never done what I'm telling you not to do right here, because I have, and I absolutely hate it. I've spent entire days checking social media to see if somebody replied to something. I've spent entire days worrying about things that I said, wondering if it was going to get too out of hand. I've done it. Not very often, but I've done it, and I quickly realized how much I hated it, which is why I'm sitting here trying to tell you all of these methods, safeguards, and just trying to give you this advice at all. Please use that time and energy to something more productive, like, I don't know, making a video on how to navigate social media without destroying your mental health. As a content creator or as a human, negativity on social media does nothing for you. Really ask yourself, how much is social media making you upset versus how much of it is making you happy in any kind of way? You may find yourself often feeling negative about social media or on social media, and you really just need to take a step back and know that this just ain't it, chief. You don't have to feel negative on social media. You can mute, you can disengage from the situation, you can run yourself through these scenarios and just defuse it and mentally just check out of it. All right, and so one last method that I want to talk about here is a classic thing that people have done before that you may have seen and thought that is cheesy as hell. It's the old write a letter to your boss trick, but then don't send it. You crumple it up and you throw it away. As funny as this sounds, I have personally used this. I will get on social media, see something much like the situation we've already talked about, and then feel the need to post something. What I will actually do sometimes is I will type up a whole post, look at it, read it over, and I will just delete it and close Twitter. There is, for some reason, something about typing it out, being on the cusp of sending it off into the world, and then just letting it go. It's been so beneficial to me. I've used it so much. I can't tell you how many times I've done this and how many tweets I have just simply deleted, because again, it's far too easy to fall into the trap of social media where you post something, but what are you actually going to get out of it? What is that post inviting negativity going to actually do for you? It's a ridiculous cycle that's way too easy to fall into and really difficult to fall out of. And I hope that some of the strategies that I've shared today can benefit you and can make your experience on social media a little more pleasant. And guys, I think that's going to be it for this one. If this video helped you out in some way, hit the like button for me. If you want more content like this, more content creator tips, streamer tips, hit the subscribe button, because that's what this channel is all about. Links to all of my socials are down below, so feel free free to follow them, but please don't destroy your mental health while doing it. And lastly, if you guys want to go the extra mile in supporting the YouTube content, I do have a Patreon page that gets you early access to the content on this channel and my Finest XI channel as well. And on that note, shout out to the VIP patrons Nick RSA, Dr. Johan, Calabag, Hugh6707, and Jokes with Dad. Thank you guys so much for the support. All right, I'm gonna let you guys go now. Have a wonderful day. Be smart out there. Be safe out there. And I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.